The cursed village of Hollowvale lay shrouded in perpetual twilight, where shadows danced with a life of their own and whispered secrets to those who dared to listen. Evren, a young herbalist, wandered the cobblestone streets with an old leather satchel, collecting herbs that grew twisted and gnarled from the witch's lingering magic. The townsfolk eyed Evren warily, muttering prayers under their breath and clutching protective charms. They all knew that Hollowvale's curse had begun with a witch's wrath, but few dared to speak of the familiar that haunted the village, a creature said to serve only the next chosen witch. Marlowe, a mysterious traveller with a wide-brimmed hat and a penchant for riddles, sat on a crooked bench near the village well. His eyes twinkled with secrets as he greeted Evren. "Beware the familiar," he said, his voice a blend of mirth and warning. "It watches, waiting for its new master." Bram, a blacksmith with arms of iron and a heart heavy with sorrow, emerged from his forge, the clanging of metal echoing through the square. He watched Evren with a mixture of hope and dread, knowing that the village's future lay in hands they had yet to understand. The air thickened with the scent of burnt sage as an unnatural wind swept through the village, carrying with it a faint, ghostly laughter. Evren shivered, feeling a presence just beyond the veil of the ordinary. Something was coming, and the witch's curse was stirring once more. Evren's search for herbs leads them deeper into the outskirts of Hollowvale, where the once familiar cobblestone paths become overgrown with thorny vines, and the air thickens with an oppressive, almost sentient stillness. The shadows stretch and twist in ways that defy the natural light, forming shapes that seem to watch and whisper. Marlowe, ever the enigmatic presence, follows at a leisurely pace, his riddles and cryptic warnings laced with a mischievous undertone. "The closer you get," he mused, "the more it remembers." Evren couldn't shake the feeling that each step carried them closer to something ancient and hungry. A sudden, blood-curdling scream splits the twilight air, sending a shiver of terror rippling through the village. The townsfolk scatter like frightened birds, clutching their charms and retreating into their crooked homes. Bram, who had been tending to his forge, emerges with his iron hammer, his gaze fierce and protective. He rushes to Evren's side, his heavy footsteps echoing through the square as a dark mist begins to swirl ominously around the decrepit old church at the village's heart. The mist dances with ghostly elegance, and an uneasy silence falls over Hollowvale. Together they discover Hester, the village's elderly lawkeeper, lying in the dirt, her frail body trembling. Her voice is a cracked whisper as she speaks of a ritual gone horribly wrong, the witch's curse shifting like a living thing. Her eyes, wide with fear, meet Evren's as she gasps out a dire warning. The familiar is growing restless. "It searches," she wheezes, "for the one who will be next." The air thickens with the scent of burning sage and iron, and an invisible weight presses down on all of them. Determined to break the curse and put an end to the familiar's reign, Evren, Marlowe and Bram set their sights on the church, its crumbling facade bathed in a glow of unnatural shifting colours from the stained glass windows. The church looms over the square, a sinister presence that seems to pulse with life. Whispers, both seductive and menacing, drift from the shadows within, calling to Evren. Marlowe's riddles turn quiet, and even his playful demeanour falters as they approach the threshold, feeling the very air pulse with dark magic. As they step into the church, the world around them seems to twist, and shadows peel themselves from the walls, solidifying into grotesque forms. The familiar's ghostly laughter fills the sanctuary, echoing from every corner and wrapping around Evren's mind. It isn't just watching anymore, it's reaching out, testing the bond that fate has begun to weave. Evren feels a cold dread settle into their bones as they realize that this curse was no random affliction, but a legacy waiting to claim its next witch. The interior of the old church is a maze of broken pews and shattered icons, bathed in the kaleidoscopic glow of the stained glass windows. Shadows slither and whisper, growing more tangible with every step Evren, Marlowe and Bram take. The air pulses with dark magic, and an overwhelming sense of being watched fills Evren's senses. Marlowe's usual riddles fall silent as the familiar makes itself known, manifesting as a twisted, spectral creature with eyes that seem to pierce into Evren's very soul. Its voice is a chilling blend of honey and venom, whispering of ancient pacts and unfulfilled destinies. "You are chosen," it intones, "as she was before you." The words send shivers down Evren's spine, but there is no time for fear. Bram grips his hammer, preparing to strike, but the familiar weaves a web of shadowy chains that bind him in place. Marlowe steps forward, his demeanor unusually serious, as he begins to recite an incantation, his voice echoing off the church walls. The familiar's laughter grows, a twisted melody that fills the sanctuary. Evren realizes that the only way to confront the familiar is to embrace the legacy they have been running from. With a deep breath, Evren steps forward, feeling a surge of energy and understanding. Memories of the old witch's rituals flash through Evren's mind, and the stained glass windows shatter, releasing a torrent of spectral light that battles the familiar's darkness. The familiar snarls, its form distorting, but it reaches out with spectral tendrils, wrapping around Evren's heart. The choice is clear: to accept the curse and become the new witch of Hollowvale, or to resist and watch the village be consumed. Evren's eyes meet Bram's and Marlowe's, and with a final, desperate act, they make their choice, one that will change Hollowvale forever. The spectral tendrils retract, and the familiar's form wavers, its laughter fading into an echo that still clings to the air. Evren collapses to their knees, the weight of the witch's legacy pressing heavily on their heart. The shattered stained glass windows now frame a sky tinged with unnatural hues, as though the magic released had tainted the very heavens. Bram stumbles forward, finally free of the shadowy chains, his face lined with worry and fear. Marlowe, his hat askew and face pale, rushes to Evren's side. "Did you make the pact?" he asks, his voice trembling. Evren looks up, eyes shimmering with newfound power and sorrow, knowing the choice they made had changed them forever. The familiar's influence still thrums in the air, a dark connection that can't easily be severed. Outside the church, the village of Hollowvale stands silent, the villagers peering from their windows with wide, fearful eyes. The dark mist begins to dissipate, but the shadows that remain seem more alert, more alive, as if they acknowledge Evren's new role. Hester, the lawkeeper, emerges from her hiding place, her gaze wary as she watches the trio step out of the church. She murmurs ancient prayers, half in reverence, half in dread. Bram lays a comforting hand on Evren's shoulder, though his touch is hesitant. "You saved us," he says, but the words are hollow. The village is safe, yet something in Evren has changed irrevocably. The witch's familiar remains bound, but now it waits, tethered to Evren, whispering promises of power and danger. The weight of this bond is one Evren must now bear alone. As the trio walks back into the heart of Hollowvale, Marlowe offers a sad, knowing smile. "Every witch has a familiar," he says, "and every curse comes with a price." Evren doesn't respond, their thoughts consumed by the echo of the witch's curse, now intertwined with their very soul. The shadows shift as they pass, and Evren knows that this is only the beginning of a dark and uncertain journey. The twilight over Hollowvale deepens as Evren stands at the heart of the village, the echo of the witch's curse, now a quiet whisper in their mind. Shadows swirl around their feet, more obedient now, almost like loyal guardians. The villagers slowly emerge from their homes, their eyes wide with both fear and a spark of hope, uncertain of what Evren has become. Hester, the old lawkeeper, steps forward, her gnarled hands trembling. She bows her head slightly in a gesture of respect, her voice breaking as she murmurs, "The village is yours to guard now." Evren feels the familiar's presence at their side, no longer just a dark entity, but a companion bound to them, a reflection of the power they've inherited. Bram watches from a distance, a mix of relief and sorrow etched on his face. He understands that the price of Hollowvale's safety was Evren's transformation. Marlowe, ever the Riddler, gives one final cryptic smile, tipping his hat. "Every story needs a witch," he says, "but not every witch is doomed." With that, he turns and vanishes into the mist, as though he was never there. Evren walks through the village, feeling the weight of their new role. The whispers of the familiar grow quieter, no longer sinister, but merely a reminder of the power Evren now wields. The dark magic that once terrified the village has become a shield, a promise to protect rather than harm. Shadows curl protectively around Evren, and for the first time the villagers dare to hope that this new witch might be different. As the moon rises high, casting silver light over Hollowvale, Evren stands at the village's edge, gazing into the dark forest where the curse began. The echoes of the witch's curse may never truly fade, but Evren knows they have the strength to shape this legacy into something new. The familiar purrs, content for now as Evren whispers a quiet vow. "This curse is mine to bear, and this village is mine to protect."